We're looking for the teachings of the day. Every day has its own teaching. Every moment has its own grace. So let me pause with you for a few moments to reflect on a teaching for today. I'm going to reach back into the Jewish scriptures, what we call the Old Testament, to the book of Kings, the first book of Kings. And in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, this story appears. It has to do with Elijah the prophet, one of the great prophets of the Jewish people. And Elijah is fleeing for his life. His life is threatened. And he's fleeing all the way from Galilee in the north, all the way down to Mount Horeb, which is Mount Sinai. And on his way, he is so frightened, he takes refuge in a cave, and he's praying that God will visit him. The holy man is praying that God will visit him. And here's how the story is told in the first book of Kings in chapter 19. He was in the cave, and the Lord said to him, "Go outside and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord will be passing by." A strong and heavy wind was rending the mountains and crushing the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake there was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire there was a tiny whispering wind, a sound. When he heard this, Elijah hid his face in his cloak, and he went and he stood at the entrance of the cave. God was there. And this is a teaching for us. It's the small things that matter in a time of crisis. The small things that you think are not important become the great gift. The phone call to somebody who is lonely. The kindness and respect you show by staying a distance from another person. The thoughtfulness you show by being patient with those with whom you live. All living together we become impatient. A call of the Spirit to pray, to go slowly, to be reflective, to use the quiet time we have to be conscious of God in the small things. Look for God's visitation in the small things that seem to be unimportant. Now, here's a teaching that I have got over many, many years as a priest. I've been at the bedside of people who are dying countless times. And here's my ritual. When I'm called out at night and somebody is dying, I anoint the person, I give them the sacraments. And then I gather the family around the bed, and we all lay hands on the person. It's not the prayer of the priest, it's not the prayer of the church, it's the prayer of the family. The family is the church. I articulate the prayer. These are the hands of love to tell you that you are loved. These are the hands of gratitude to tell you how grateful we are for the gift of your life, for the sacrifices of your life. These are the hands of faith to tell you that we carry you in our hearts and our prayers. The hands of promise that you will always belong to us. When I finish the prayer along those lines, I invite everybody to stand back. Then I invite each person to go and say into the ear of the person who is dying the last thing you want them to hear. I've been doing that for years. Never once heard anybody say, "Thanks for having $1 million. Never heard, "Thanks for having a big house, for being famous, man of the year, woman of the year." Never heard that. Here's what I hear. "Thank you for forgiving me when I didn't deserve it. Thank you for welcoming me when others rejected me. Thank you for understanding me, for being patient with me when I didn't deserve it. Thanks for showing up at my ball game. Thanks for listening to me, for giving me time. The things that we think are really not that important become the most precious things. And when we come to the end of our lives, only the things that are very important will really show up. So, during these days, Christ will visit you in the small things, the kindnesses,